The electromagnetic spectrum consists of radio waves, microwaves, infrared, light, ultraviolet rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. Is energy often electrons in atoms? Remember, when something is does not mean the speed is changing, but could also mean that moving in a circle is accelerating. The direction is changing. The energy travels in a wave. Such a wave is called an electromagnetic. Light is a portion of the famous electromagnetic wave called the electromagnetic spectrum. Below, you'll see this animation of what the electromagnetic spectrum looks like. And if you'll notice that microwave starts, and the distance between those two crests, those two top, those are pretty long compared to the gamma rays, where the distance between those two is really short. That distance between those crests, or high points, or hills, is your wavelength. So you have a really long wavelength, and as you move through the spectrum, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Until as your wavelength is microwaves are really low, and really there's radio waves that are even longer than that and really lower energy than that. So radio waves would start first, and then microwaves, and so on. But with a really long wavelength comes really low energy. With a really short wavelength comes very high energy. The lowest frequency of light we can see appears red. So back to this little animation, you'll see this visible sliver in there. The visible spectrum is just a tiny, tiny piece of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Our eyes are really terrible tools because we cannot see most of the light that is around us. We can only see this short range. The highest visible light, violet, has nearly twice the frequency of red. So, just like with radio waves being longer wavelengths than microwaves and moving on, infrared, visible, ultraviolet, so on, as you're decreasing in your wavelength, all of those waves move at the same speed. So how often those waves come by, or the frequency, will change. Where we have the longer wavelengths with radio and magnetic, we have the longer wavelengths with red, orange, yellow. And as you move through that Roy G. Biv that you learned about, the wavelength is decreasing. So once you get to violet, violet has a very small wavelength compared to the red wavelengths. The highest visible light, violet, has nearly twice the frequency of red light. Electromagnetic waves of frequencies lower than red of visible light are called infrared. Infrared is to the left of red. Heat lamps give off infrared waves. Meanwhile, electromagnetic waves of frequencies higher than those of violet are called ultraviolet. They are responsible for sunburns. What are the waves of the electromagnetic spectrum? Hopefully by now you can answer that question off the top of your head. If not, go back and review.